Here's the science behind how protein helps you lose weight and keep it off. One of the main reasons that people can't stick to a diet is that they get too hungry. When you get too hungry on a diet, it's almost impossible to resist food because your body thinks that you are starving to death and it keeps sending you intense hunger signals that are impossible to ignore. The best way to boost the metabolism is to eat more protein. And there's some really interesting science around protein that helps us to lose weight. So let's start by looking at a concept called protein leverage theory. Protein leverage theory means your body is keeping an eye on how much protein you're eating to make sure you get enough of it. And because the body can't store protein in the same way that it stores carbohydrates and fats on the body, it needs to make sure we get enough through our diet. That means that our appetite stays high until we've consumed enough protein. So that's one of the reasons that you can eat as many pies, pastries, cakes, biscuits, cookies as you like, because the body is searching for protein and it will keep your appetite high until you've eaten enough. And it won't really find a lot of protein in these refined carbohydrate foods. It's only when your body finally has had enough protein that day that it will send signals to you saying that you are full and satisfied and don't need to eat any more. This is one of the main reasons why people feel like they never feel full, and it's because of the foods that you're eating. I used to be the same way myself. When I doubled my protein intake, I was finally able to lose weight without hunger and keep the weight off, and I could never do this until I massively increased the amount of protein I was eating because I was eating far too little, and most people eat far too little protein. And I've got something else really exciting to share with you about protein. Not only does it fill you up and help you to stick to your calorie budget, but it also helps you lose weight in another interesting scientific way. Did you know that protein actually requires a lot of energy to process it once you've eaten it? And this processing of protein actually burns quite a lot of calories, and this speeds up your metabolism and speeds up your weight loss dramatically. This process is called the thermic effect of food metabolism. The thermic effect of food metabolism is the amount of energy it takes for your body to digest, absorb and metabolize the food that you eat. When you eat a standard diet, which is a lot of grains and breads and cakes and pastas and those kind of things, the thermic effect of food is still taking place. It still requires a small amount of calories to burn those foods that you've eaten. And if you eat a standard diet, the thermic effect of food will burn about 10% of the food that you've eaten. So for example, if you take in around 2,000 calories per day of a standard diet, 2,000 calories would just disappear, burning that food that you've eaten. But here's the interesting thing. Protein burns around 30% of the food that you've eaten. So if you eat something that's high in protein, it will take 30% of the calories contained in that protein source to process the food. And fruits and vegetables also burn more calories to process them in the body. So if you eat a diet that's mainly based on lean protein sources, fruit and veg, and you ate 2,000 calories a day, you would burn off 380 calories just to process that food. So that's an increase of an extra 180 calories burned just by switching the type of food you eat. That's like the equivalent of doing 30 minutes of cardio each day. In fact, some research studies suggest that you can burn even more than this. In one study, the high protein group burned 260 calories more than the low protein group. And that's equivalent to 1 hour of moderate intensity exercise per day. So all you need to do is switch the types of food you eat and you're automatically burning a lot more calories, which will lead to weight loss. And another study found that overweight women who ate 30% of their calories from protein lost 11 pounds in 12 weeks, even though they didn't intentionally restrict their diet. So they weren't even on a diet. And if that all sounds good, let's see what happens when people did intentionally restrict their calories. In a 12-month study of 130 overweight people on a calorie-restricted diet, the high-protein group lost 53% more body fat than the normal protein group eating the same number of calories. So what about when it comes to keeping the weight off? Can protein help us keep the weight off? In one study, just increasing the amount of protein consumed each day from 15% to 18% reduced weight gain by 50%. And a diet based on 18% protein is low protein in my opinion. If they'd have increased their protein even more, they would have found it much easier to maintain their weight loss. So how much protein should we eat per day for weight loss? The RDA recommendations are far too low for protein, and they haven't kept up with current research studies, which suggest that if you stick to the RDA for protein, elderly people will end up becoming deficient in the amount of protein and it won't protect them. So I prefer to go with the current research studies when I get my protein intake. The amount of protein that I recommend you consume each day will be around 30 to 40% of your calories per day, which doesn't make it a high protein diet. It makes it a completely balanced diet. If you have 33% from protein, 33% from carbohydrates, and 33% from fat, that is all completely balanced and healthy. None of those macronutrients are higher than the other one if they're around about 33%. But if I had to choose one that would be higher, it would be protein. Science has also proven that there is absolutely no risk of increasing your protein intake to around about 30 to 40% of your calories per day. So how much protein should we actually eat? The lowest amount of protein that I recommend anybody eating, any adult, is 100 grams of protein per day. And that's the bare minimum. And even that will probably be doubling the protein intake that most people have, as most people consume far too little protein. So why not put it to the test? From now on, eat at least 100 grams of protein per day and notice how you feel. Most people are blown away by the differences in how they feel and how easy their weight loss becomes when they increase the protein in their diet. And a lot of people think that they are eating a high protein diet already, but unfortunately they aren't. There are lots of myths out there when it comes to protein foods. Lots of people think if they're eating burgers, sausages, eggs, peanut butter, chickpeas, lentils, nuts, seeds, quinoa and beans, then they're eating a high protein diet. But unfortunately, all of these foods are not high in protein. So what foods are high in protein? To lose weight, you need to eat foods that are not only high in protein, also are low in calories. So here are the best sources of lean protein that I recommend you eat each day. Protein powder, tuna, egg whites, turkey breast, chicken breast, whitefish, low-fat Greek yogurt, lean beef, Quorn, TVP, low-fat cottage cheese, plant-based mince, tofu, tempeh, soy milk, soy yogurt, edamame, and an honorable mention goes to eggs. Even though they contain more fat than protein, they are so filling that they are a good addition to a weight loss diet because they do contain protein and they're fairly low in calories. These lean protein sources should be eaten with every single meal or snack if you want to feel satisfied by your food, and they should be the first item that you prioritize eating on your plate. Let me know how it goes when you increase the protein in your diet. Did you find your weight loss easier? And if you want to know more about this and get all of my resources, they are all contained in my 6-week shred. And you can access that by clicking on the link. And now it's time to turn your struggle into strength.